My mom told me not to talk to strangers on the internet, but I'm glad I didn't listen. We are the Certified Nunas, your sisters in the love of Asian entertainment.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
I'm Jessie.
I'm Natalia.
And I'm Sky.
And today we bring you an exclusive double feature night, sort of. So we do this thing often where we watch the first 2 episodes of a currently airing show, and then we talk about like what we thought of the first 2 episodes, like how, you know, if we're going to keep watching it and stuff. But usually there's only like one show that we're interested in watching that's coming out in a week period of time. However, this week there were 2 shows coming out in that same period of time, so we decided to do them both.
Yeah, so that's package them together.
That's right. You get a double feature, my guys. So we are going to talk about the first 2 episodes of Forecasting Love and Weather, and then the first 2 episodes of 39. Both of these shows can be found on Netflix. We are only going to be discussing the first 2 episodes because that's all that's
what's out.
Physically, that's all we can do. So like literally we cannot figure out any more past these 2 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. So there will only be spoilers, if you want to call them, for the first 2 episodes. So if you haven't watched them already and you don't want to hear any details, you can pause here, go watch those episodes, and then come back. We're going to start with Forecasting Love and Weather, the Park Min-young, Song Kang office romance com.
Is there com?
There was like a little bit of com.
It's technical, like says it's comedy, but there's not. It's in
like
that gray area that I need to get like a definitive genre name for. You're not a rom-com, but you're also not a mellow. You're in between that.
Mm-hmm.
And
you're a romance drama with a few comedic situations, but they're not like any pratfalls or anything like that.
The heavy things are handled kind of lightly, but not like rom-com lightly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas a mellow
workplace drama, let's just like
it's a workplace drama with some romance,
and then that like light rom-commy music pops up every once in a while, and you're like, oh yeah, right, it thinks it's a rom-com. Yes.
Gotcha.
But like compared to Secretary Kim is a rom-com.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's an office rom-com.
Yeah, this is less calm than Secretary Kim.
Yes.
Okay,
because it's about weather. It can't be that funny. It's about weather.
We just sat here and like tried to describe it for like 3 minutes. I think people get it.
Listen, you're with us. You're with us on this one. So the plot follows a meteorologist, Jin Hak-young, played by the Queen, Park Min-young, who is now just made a new director after the old director has like 6 heart attacks or something. Like this man needs to retire.
Listen, weather is like intense and like really stressful.
Like so this job is literally killing him. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally killing him. Meanwhile, at the first scene of this, we find out the very lucrative information that she's getting married in a month. Listen, we've been here.
First episode,
getting married in a month. Okay, we know we've seen this plot enough.
This ain't our first rodeo.
I've seen this.
So but oh no, her fiance is starting to act kind of weird, kind of shady,
not answering phone calls.
Yeah, not answering.
Changing the locks on their apartment door.
Yeah, it was weird.
Weird. And I wonder what person could be playing that fiance.
Yes.
If you had to guess in your head, someone who's shifty, who would snag Park Min-young. First off,
which actor
in your head?
If we were to typecast an actor who would play a shifty, skeevy, but super hot fiance, who would it be? That's right. It's our main man, Yoon Park, who almost always plays this, just like my guy.
Yeah.
I want him to be a good dude, but he is not a good dude in this. He is the opposite of a good
Oh,
dude.
and he just gets worse and worse.
Oh yeah,
He's bad,
Yeah.
and then he gets worse, and then he
we
gets
haven't
worse.
like
and you're
seen the worst out
no,
of
we know.
him.
He's just gonna keep going downhill.
He's a thunderstorm that's turning into a tornado.
Oh, very good.
Weather pun.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we are greeted with our he's a half himbo. I'm calling him a half himbo because he is very smart, but only at one thing.
I would also say that like he's less himbo and more focusing on how young he actually is.
Yes.
I think the show is actually
fair.
trying to like focus on that.
Yes, but he's himbo in the sense that he like drinks that respect women juice, you know.
Yeah.
And he's kind and chivalrous. Okay.
He just hasn't been long on this world.
No, he's a youthful chap.
He
Played by
hasn't had
Song
much
Kang.
experience, yes.
And I mean, when you talk about typecasting for Yoon Park, for me, seeing Song Kang smiley and happy and like he's like a little puppy in the first half of that first episode, and you're like, I don't usually see him like this.
Yeah,
he's usually
so
depressed,
he's
like
branching out.
Yeah.
Or
so, but he's a meteorological phenom. Okay, like he is connected to the weather. He can read the data,
but
like,
not fantastically. It's like,
but no one ever listens to him.
He's like a
But
savant,
he's like
savant.
a weather savant, and he's always right, but like no one listens to him, which
He's
I
the
don't.
Cassandra of weather.
Yeah, he totally is. And he's dating a reporter who got bad vibes. Bad vibes on that girl.
Oh, she's horrible to him.
Bad vibes. But
Like,
she's mean to him.
She's so mean to him.
Well, when we get introduced to both of like the significant others, you get the dead eyes from both of them.
Yeah.
And you're like, this
this
isn't good.
Yeah.
And also, like, listen, the two of them are so nice that if their partners were just like, oh, like they're nice people, but they just made a mistake, like they would never break up with them.
Yeah.
But so we have to be presented with absolute snakes.
And I also think that we should say that everybody involved does work long, weird hours. So I think that kind of helps in this situation, in that if someone's not around and like not there at weird times, it is like actually conducive to everybody's job too. So I think that's how it kind of gets to be the way it is for so long because of that.
So it's like, oh, how would you not know after 10 years? It's like, well, it's because she works so hard, and
weather doesn't stop at night.
Weather keeps
and reporting about that weather doesn't stop either. So.
If they're putting out a weather advisory, it's a big
millions of
deal.
dollars.
Apparently, that heavy rain could stop the economy. Okay.
I want to say something about that though. So there's a part, is it episode 1, where it talks about like a heavy rain warning?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it shows blow by blow like pretty much every governmental department that it touches and every person that has to do the tasks for that thing. And that was actually like incredibly fascinating because I have never thought that hard. I grew up in a very weather-centric state, and so I've paid attention to meteorologists a lot, but I have never thought about how it goes, down and how it touches everything and how it does spend money. So like it was fascinating, that part.
Yeah. I really like that aspect of this show, like the weather stuff, the office, and all the politics that go into, do we tell you that there's going to be hail or not?
Well, there was only a 4.8% chance that there was going to be hail, and by the book it says 5% is when you report chance of hail.
By the way, I'm on her side with that.
I'm also on her side.
If that's
she
the
went
rule.
by the regulations. Okay.
As a native Floridian, I'm on her side because what I got from this series is that could never handle Florida in summer.
No, they couldn't handle
weather
Montreal.
people would just go crazy, go nuts.
Like, listen, the weather forecast here is never correct and always in the worst way. So it's like,
that's like, I was sitting there,
really, like,
I watched the first 2 episodes like early this morning, the day that we were recording it. And they're like, going on about this like potential severe weather. Meanwhile, I'm watching while it's raining outside, and my weather apps, all the weather apps still only predicted that it was supposed to rain tomorrow.
I love when it's like there's a 16% chance of rain and you're looking at it pouring outside of your window and you're like
I want to actually tell you something. I have something very interesting to say about that. The 16% chance of rain doesn't actually mean that there is a 16% chance of rain. It means that they predict 16% of the population in that area will experience rain.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's
a 100% chance of rain,
everyone's getting rain.
But it's not what anybody
it still
expects.
Always feels weird, right? Because you're like, but it's raining. Like,
it's not going to help me if like no one ever told me this until like social media happened. Like,
exactly. Like,
okay. You know what else? This might be just a Canadian thing. This pisses me off. Wind chill. This will just tell me what I'm going to feel like the temperature. They're like, oh, the temperature is -13, but -24 with wind chill. I'm like, then it's -24.
Because the wind doesn't stop. It's not.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not like I'm a mechanical instrument. I'm going to feel the wind.
Yeah. I mean, there's some like things like, okay, yeah, I know I need to know a specific. If it's just to like tell me if I'm like putting on a coat or like if I can like be outside for a while. Just tell me that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
we've wandered off.
Well, but I wanted one tiny story. So, like,
please do.
In the current state that I live, which is less, it's kind of a little meteorologically challenged. So there's a tornado like warning happening. This is a couple years back, and the person on TV was like, he eventually just said, "I don't know." Like, that's what he said on air during a tornado warning, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not watching this."
Honest, man. Like,
that's like a different thing than like what I grew up with, because Florida gets so much weather and so varying. We get pretty much everything that most of our meteorologists just go on to do like the major weather channel and stuff. Like, that's where they're pulling all their meteorologists for. And so like, that's the one thing that I like can say that I grew up with, like a good weather team always on my news because of how crazy Florida is.
And so since I grew up in Oklahoma, same thing. Like, that's pretty much
when you get the tornado,
the storm chasers and stuff, like that's pretty much where they all come from.
Yeah.
So that's what I was used to. So then when I end up somewhere, in a different state that's like, a dude saying, "I don't know," I'm like, that's great. I mean, and it's kind of interesting. It makes you wonder that, like, if meteorologists are also like on TV in Korea, because that's a thing here. Like, you typically
I feel they are, but I don't remember.
I don't know.
I don't watch a lot of, but I know they like transfer over to like other places. So, how like on our news, they'll transfer over to the sports people and they're a specific department.
Yeah, they have that, definitely.
They definitely do that. So like that would make me believe that they have like a specific weather. I also wonder if they do something like we do, where it's illegal for anyone who is not certified in all the like in meteorology to ever report about weather here.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Like, you can't report on it. It's like crazy. I don't know why it's such a big thing, but
if only we like applied that to other things.
I know. You know who I always feel really bad for? The poor like meteorology interns that they send out in the middle of storms to like report on the outside. I'm always just like, oh, you poor SOBs.
Anyways, we've like strayed away from
what we're actually supposed to be talking about. Far from this. So anyway, she like catches Yoon Park's character fucking another girl. Like, straight up just sees him like
literally she walks in on him.
Walks in like the classic like walks in on him a month before their wedding and is like, oh no. But guess who the woman is?
I don't know. Who could it be in this story that we've already told you?
Who could it be in this small world story? That was right. It's Song Kang's character's snaky girlfriend. And they have a quickie wedding after this. And,
yeah, they do.
Oh, because it comes to 2 months later and they married. And it's like,
they have to.
Oh, I want to bring up this. I was about to have a nervous breakdown with Park Min-young's character because poor girl. So before she catches him, she is going through like a crisis at work with weather, as she does. And was it also like the heart attack moment?
Yeah,
It was all
like Superior has a heart attack.
So she's dealing with all these things, and she's getting these like desperate texts from her sister and mom, being
and
like,
also from like vendors who are like,
pretty much like,
where's the deposit? Where's I heard that, we got a notice that you're canceling your wedding, and she's like, I say what? I'm doing
news to me.
And she kept on like having to ignore those things in order to deal with, life-threatening stuff at work. And so then, she has to deal with that too. So I mean, it sucked walking into that, but prior to that, she was seeing like snaky boyfriend also like financially did all types of weird stuff prior to that.
Just shenanigans. Shenanigans on this man.
She obviously is the one making the money in the relationship.
Because he's like the PR guy. So he's like the guy that gets up in front of the press and like after the weather service does something and says, this is what the weather service did. And then calls her out to be like, here's an actual person who knows what the fuck she's talking about to tell you what the weather service did. Thank you for that introduction, MC Snake. And that's basically, he's a schmoozer, okay?
Yeah.
He's,
so her world
likes him.
She kind of knew her world was crumbling even while she was dealing with like all these crises at work. And then she had done that on top. It was just awful. Talk about a bad day. Like,
rough. Just absolutely rough.
Because and also at this time, that's when she's kind of like forced into the position of the leadership role too. So it's like essentially like an actual like good step for her career wise, but everything else is like falling apart to force her to not think about it, to like potentially affect her job. And like, and the way that the drama handles it makes you believe that there's going to be something to happen because of this. And you're very worried about that as well. And it's, it's a stressful moment.
But like, you're not too worried because you saw who was playing her fiance and was like, okay. Okay. He's having sex with someone who ain't her. I don't know who, but it's the main dude's girlfriend who just dumps him right when they're about to go on a nice romantic trip and is like, we're done. Though I must say, there is a delightful scene later on that shows him gleefully ruining their wedding, which I just...
but like,
yes.
Talk about like the most low-key way to ruin a wedding. So basically, right when they're throwing the bouquet, he basically shoves the maid of honor out of the way and steals the bouquet and runs off in a trench coat. Like, you did it. It's not like he said he didn't say anything. He didn't ruin the ceremony. He didn't, do anything rude to the parents or like do it. He just showed up, stole the bouquet, and dipped.
You find out that she never even, like, Yoon Park's character doesn't know that she had a boyfriend, like that she was a cheater too, right? He thinks she's some like pure angel that he met who, just happens to be okay with sleeping with an essentially married man, but whatever. She's perfect. He keeps seeing Song Kang's character around and like, is that the bouquet guy from our wedding? And she's like, no.
I have no idea who this guy is. I never seen him before in my life. What? Totally weird. So basically then, in the second episode, you find out that a bunch of shit has gone missing. This is 2 months later. A bunch of shit has gone missing from her apartment. And she's like, that motherfucker. So goes to old Snakey and is like, where's my shit? She's like, you said I could have the apartment for alimony. Okay. And I paid for all this shit. And he's like, well, like, I know I said that, but like,
it's like half ours.
Like, finances, like, I think I deserve half. And she's like, give me my shit back. So he sends her stuff back, but it's not her stuff. It's cheap knockoff imitations of her stuff. And she's like, that motherfucker tried to scam me. Like, are you kidding me? So then he sends her papers wanting appraisals for the apartment that he told her that she could have in, their breakup as alimony for the 10 years they were together. And he's like, I think I deserve half. And then she loses it. And in the most glorious, just absolute
best part about the first two episodes.
At work.
At work he does this. And
well, we've also got to talk about a little bit. Everybody at work they all work in the same place. So like the reporter is always there for the weather things. You know, he's the PR. Everybody knows that she was marrying him. And so it's a big thing up until this point. Everybody's been like whispering or like to being like, oh, the air's so weird now here. This is why you should never date people who you work with and all this stuff. So it's like,
and he was supposed to get a transfer, right? Yes. He's supposed to be transferred out, and he decides not to, and then thinks that she should leave because she's making it awkward for him. Sir, no.
I just think that her rant on him, where she's like, listen up, motherfucker. You own 7% of this apartment. I have the receipts. I paid for everything. And I will give you that 7% minus the amount of money that you scammed on me from shit that you stole. So you can just go to hell. And everyone's just like,
good girl. It's like golf claps all around. They're like, girl, like that. Love that. And then little Song Kang's character is just sitting there going, I'm in love.
And he's like, you know what? We should go for a nice drink. Like, we both like this one sushi place. And it's been awkward, but now we're like friends because we can bond over how snaky our exes are, okay? And they're married now, and that's weird. So they're just having like a drink and some sushi, and like the dude who works at the sushi shop is just so done with their shit because they just torment him constantly. They're always there just making his life difficult, and he's like, finally, they're friends, and then they get a little friendly. And you know, when adults sometimes single adults when they imbibe
emotions
are
high.
They get
and she was very impressed by the bouquet story.
She was, and she's also very impressed by his meteorological skills because like they solved like a big meteorological puzzle like involving ice flows or something.
And everybody has their thing. Okay,
fine.
There are lots of love weather like that.
It's fine. Yeah. So then, you know, one thing comes to another, and my girl's waking up naked in a bed she don't recognize next to a sweet-faced little angel who's like, that was really nice. Like, we should do this again. And she's like, oh hell no, we shouldn't.
I really like
I'm just gonna walk around naked because I got no shame.
I really like it. They do specifically mention that there was an actual consensual thing between the two of them outside of just like them being both drunk. So there's actually a really great acknowledgement about that. And I felt like really gross. It was good for you to put into the context of the show. And I
liked that also as a part of that, the conversation. She wakes up and she's like, I'm sorry. And he's like, what for? We're consenting adults, and I thought it was pretty fun. Like we had a good time, right?
And she's like, girl.
Wait, you're right. We're grown-ups. And we had a good time. I'm not sorry. But
I'm not sorry. We probably shouldn't do it again.
But, you know,
because like, listen, I've lived this story before. I don't think you're as snaky, but like, I now have my personal ethos, which is do not date coworkers. But like, listen.
Yeah,
we know
how this
goes. And besides that, there's a lot of weather stuff.
Oh my gosh, there's so much weather stuff.
A lot of weather stuff.
I really like it.
You're gonna learn about weather.
I liked it too.
The weather stuff's my favorite part.
I think I told this to Natalia when I was watching it that like it's so much weather stuff and they get so crazy about stuff that's like actually not. And it's really weird for me because right now I'm in a major rewatch. I don't even want to tell you how many seasons I've done in a week of ER. And the intensity about weather in the show is literally the intensity of the emergency room. Like you think someone just came in with blunt force trauma to this weather station.
Listen, they are urgently shuffling. It's like graphs.
Maybe severe weather
maps. They're all like staring into it. They're like going like, you know, zooming like other, you know, they have a Microsoft Teams up for like all the other weather stations, like, oh, we need to report on this situation. Like, and I'm like, my guy, you're talking about like a cold front. Like, let's
like argue. They'll like have a very heated argument over like which system of air is interacting and causing the thing. Like
And you're just like,
just so funny.
And they're always so worried about like things that have had happened. So that's like always a big thing that like plays into it. It's like, well, but like remember that like 5 years ago this thing happened and that was crazy. And you're like, okay, but like also people should know that it's not like 100%. Like people don't know, think that like whether people know that much about whether
they assume there's like a rate of error, right? Like they're like, I feel like meteorologists aren't held personally responsible if there's like a freak storm, you know, they don't cause the weather. But anyway,
also the hailstorm that's shown,
that was a crazy hailstorm. I feel
it was
like
awful.
I feel like there should have been more than a 5% chance of that with the hail that big.
Like every single car windshield was busted up, like just everything.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I've been in hail before that didn't do that.
No,
like that,
I've been in like
type...
hail where it's like golf size, like and consistent and bigger than that, and it still didn't do as much. But I understand that like
dramatic,
and also it is like scary. Like people on the road, it is very dangerous. I don't want to
for sure, absolutely
downplay that.
I just
like
felt really bad for his brand new car that now has a busted windshield. Like, you know,
poor baby.
He just leased that little hatchback.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, so I didn't watch a lot of stuff like going into this about this show. I didn't really read up much about it. I just knew the kind of general consensus of it. And I kind of started to figure out that it was going to be less rom-com. And that's when I wanted to kind of spend some time on it. But like one of the things that I kept thinking like before it was how much this reminded me of Where Stars Land. And I was like, why does it do that? And then I just was like, no, Jessie, it's because people in front of big TV screens looking at it. It's like the same exact thing. Oh no. Oh no.
Why.
We have a writer on the team who was the writer for Where Stars Land.
So if you liked Where Stars Land, like the vibe of that, minus the weird robot bits, you're gonna like this because it's the same vibe. With the way like the office parts of it, like the actual job parts, very similar to like how they handled the job parts of Where Stars Land.
Well, and when you talk too about it, kind of reminding you of like ER, like the intensity and stuff. One of the writers is also the writer from Dr. Romantic 1 and 2, so they have that, you know, ER, everything is happening at once kind of
go.
Yeah.
You really are you. But yeah, so if you liked Where Stars Land, I think you would like this show, especially these 2 episodes. I feel like they're in the same kind of tone and vibe, even though Where Stars Land has the fantasy element that this does not have. Like none of the things that we're saying like is fantastical. It's just
it's all very grounded in reality.
Just reality.
But a more you know dramatic version of reality that I am sure
we're not seeing the paperwork that all these people are probably doing.
I feel like the scenes that take place in like the satellite offices with just like the dudes in khakis being like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like he's like, look on the graph. He's like, I don't know, man. Maybe. Like I feel like that's a more reality based to what actual meteorology is like, as versus the high tech head meteorological office where they're all surrounded by the giant Go screens.
It also does have some of the like actors from Where Stars Land too, so you will see some of those people. And
reprising her role as Park Min Young's mother. We got Kim Mi-kyung. She's back, baby.
We're always happy to see her.
We love to see her. She played her mom on Her Private Life.
Yeah.
She was hilarious on Her Private Life.
She was
so
and
funny.
she seems delightful in this as well.
Oh,
yes, she is so pointed
so much.
She's so pointed and she's so right. Like she's so
right.
She's annoyingly right.
Yeah.
I also say the director for this is Cha Young-hoon, who we actually all know. He was just on When the Camellia Blooms, but also he worked on Are You Human 2, Bridal Mask.
And like the actual like acting cast is great as well. Like, listen, as much as we rib on Yoon Park, Okay. And we lovingly rib on Yoon Park. He is good at playing the sleazeball.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Okay.
Well,
He's
I mean,
perfected the art.
Even at the very beginning, when there was like, she had to stay late for work and she's calling, she's like, I can't make it to your dinner thing tonight. I'm sorry, I gotta work. And you see his face and you see his, and you know, like in the back of your head at that point, you're like, he's probably cheating on her. But just the look on his face at that moment, you're kind of like, okay, like maybe they're going in that direction. We're like, yes, he's cheater, but he's a good guy who kind of fell into it. But no, like
they retcon that shit super quick. They're like,
fast.
nah.
But like
nah, Snake.
you see he can do different things, right? Like he's not just foolishly evil.
Yeah,
which becomes foolishly evil, but you know.
It's a little interesting because I do remember, like, especially like maybe in like one of the first trailers or mentions of this show, they heavily focused on the fact that it's going to be there's a love connection within the workplace, but they like made it known that it was Song Kang's character, so Shiwoo and Ha Kyung's character, because there was like parts where he was being like, we can be quiet about it, or like she going like trying to move him away so he's not like standing lovingly beside her at the like you know, at the office, which was an interesting thing to know going into the show and watching it when you find out that Yoon Park's character Ki Jun is part of the work staff as well.
Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting that. I kind of was expecting throwaway, maybe he's a cameo, and then we're gonna people finding love in the work office dynamics and like tribulations of that were through the two main characters.
Well, and after I had watched, and then I started looking into some stuff, and some of the posters even are her and, you know, like Min Young and Song Kang standing by the coffee machine or something, and the two exes like watching around the corner with these looks on their faces, like they're angry that these two could be happy without them, kind of thing. So you're like, okay, like maybe that's what we're gonna do here. Okay, interesting.
Listen, they don't want them, but they don't want them to want each other. You know?
Well, I think also Song Kang's ex, like the new wife, she thinks she got a guy who has it all together and has money and has right.
She doesn't actually
thinks
realize.
He's got this stuff. She doesn't know she got a scrub.
You got a clown. Like, you got a clown, madam.
That was also a thing that I like was worried about because it took so long for Ha Kyung to like stand up for herself. Yet she had such a good power. Like she was literally the top in that group. She probably could say one thing and get multiple people fired.
She was trying to take the high road, man.
I know. And I was like so worried about it. I was like, oh, what are they going to do with her character? Are they going to make her like this kind of way? And then that part in the second episode happened and I was
I have had enough.
I was pretty worried about her character in episode 1. I'm not gonna lie. Like
it was kind of hard. I was like, what are we doing?
So we know that Park Min Young can like, you know, do any range of emotions, but that first episode, the writers just really they didn't give her character a lot. A lot was happening to her character, but they really didn't allow her to show a lot of emotion. And yes, and of course she was shocked. I'm not saying it wouldn't be shocked in that instance. But it felt like because pretty much she was busy, she was shocked, and that's really all she was allowed to do in like, episode 1.
You had the sister and the mom also being kind of actually like, I get where they're coming. They were doing something for like her own good, but they were actually being pretty terrible to her in this whole thing, like because they wanted an outcome, not what she wanted. And they kind of used the excuse that it was like for her own good, when in reality, it's not for her own good purely. They wouldn't be doing it the way that they were doing if that was the case, right? So like there was a lot of stuff like just being forced on her. And it kind of looked like that was how the character was just gonna be for the rest of the series. And I got a little worried. I was like, can we not have this?
They pulled it around. They pulled it around.
Even his character, so Song Kang's character, puppy. And I'll have to agree with Jessie, like they're sure showing his like they're trying to make him that young thing, because I gotta say he kind of drove me bonkers like a couple times because he was way too like I was right, and I was like, okay, Yes.
Thank you for your
but
input, sir.
Shut up. Because there is a hierarchy and there are people that have been around the block. And you were right. Like, legit, you were. And that's worth bringing up when it's appropriate. But, like, there were a couple times I felt like he was a bit much, but it was pretty much, I felt like it was to show his lack of experience, like within a workplace, as far as within a team and seeking out other experienced people and actually listening. So, like, I have a feeling that's going to be a thing with his character of, like, teamwork growth and, like, especially listening to the dude that he fought with about the air current thing. Like, they're going to be a thing. Like, they're going to have to...
I'm looking forward to a lovely bromance between him and the older man who just wants to be with his family that really doesn't like him that much. Ooh.
So that's an interesting thing because I kind of almost got out of it. So it, like, he is like kind of positioned. So it's Dong Han, who is played by Lee Sung-wook, who is also in Where Stars Land. But he came in on a position that I thought was supposed to be potentially taking over Ha Kyung's position. So he's the male, like, person to be her direct competition to potentially oust her out. But also, to me, even though, like, you could see there was a lot of, like, stuff with, like, Shiwoo and how he just was not good at being in the job, it seemed to be that Dong Han only got as good as he is because of Shiwoo. That's what I like saw coming into those two characters, because it seemed like the only reason he got, like,
recognition
moved over was everything that Shiwoo was telling him and being like, hey, this is the hail, this is the stuff, because it was, like, basically him doing all the work. So I thought that was going to be a major part that maybe,
and it might still be, who knows, we're only 2 episodes in, we don't know.
I do like the 3 the people in the main office, like the 2 ladies and the guy. They're kind of a good little chorus of, they definitely have different personalities and stuff, but I always like their little interactions, because it's not that they're not backbitey or anything, but they're always, like, just trying to figure out the vibe and, like, what's going on.
They're really vibe checking constantly.
We like being here. Mom, Dad, are you fighting? Okay, you're not fighting.
You're not
Okay.
fighting?
I think it's always fun to have characters that are kind of like that chorus of, like, the audience. They're like, you're in, so, like, they're kind of asking the questions that you want to ask. I enjoyed them a lot.
I like that, didn't focus on it a huge amount, but, like, he's named after rain and like weather because his grandfather was a farmer and stuff. And there's almost a bit of a sense that part of the reason why he's so good with weather is, like, it's in his genes, right? Like, farmers have to know the weather and he knows the weather. And I kind of like that.
That's how weather became a thing, as farmers and people who are living off land. That's the, like, Farmer's Almanac, and that's the, to tie. So it'd be really great to kind of integrate it into this, and especially with, like, a show that's obviously trying to focus a lot on weather and what you do as people who are, predicting the weather and that sort of thing. I think it's a neat little tie-in.
Yeah.
Oh, and we get the dude from Search WWW, the boss guy. He's always a good time.
He's always a character that's like, he's the dad character, or it's the male character that actually is not misogynistic and likes to uplift everyone, and especially the female characters.
His character was pretty interesting so far, even because they showed whenever the fella had the heart attack and then he had to speak with the wife, and the wife was super upset with him. But of course, he's dealing with other crises at work, and so he has to take the punishment from the wife. And she's like, they call you it's pretty much like you eat people's energy. Like, you guys use up people completely, and, like, that's not okay. And you could tell that he kind of, like, realized that already, like, he kind of knows that about the environment. So it'll be interesting to see how his character does, like, if he continues to uplift people, or if he's cognizant of maybe trying to make it a more healthy environment and stuff.
Well, like, listen, the wife, fair. This is like his 6th heart attack. Like, let the poor man retire, okay? Like, he clearly needs to not be doing this job anymore.
Also, like, how was he sitting there clutching his chest? Like, people don't Just let the man go to the hospital.
If you someone like clutching their chest, like ask if they need medical help because something ain't right. That's not a normal
Also,
activity for people to take.
Even if you're not thinking about people, think about like how it looks that like someone's going to a high profile person who the public probably knows by face because he would have been doing a lot of the answering of the questions in the PR room, right?
Yeah.
Finding out that he had a heart attack at work. Like maybe think about that if you're not even going to think about other people. Like, just think about something, please.
Think about the optics. So are you guys gonna keep watching?
I am.
I think
so. I wasn't sure, like in the first episode, I was like, I don't know. It felt a little like messy directorially and stuff. I was like, when she gave the big like speech and the
big middle finger.
Here's your 7%. I was like, okay, I'll give it another week for sure. So
I need to learn more about weather. So I'm in.
I'll definitely go to 4 episodes. It does depend on how much they talk about weather every episode.
Give it to me. I need more graphs.
I'm hoping for like a lot of like a heavy lean into workplace. So
yeah,
me too.
Yeah. I want the workplace like relationships and stuff. Like I think that'll be really cool. I just think the first
place, not the work.
The first episode, we saw a lot of charts. That was a lot of charts.
Maybe not like severe weather incidents every 2 episodes.
You kind of wonder where they're going to go with it, because like it feels like they've already crossed a lot of the hurdles, so I'm not sure what they're going to do.
I mean, like you know, looking at the list of people, there is a good amount of people who are listed in a way that makes me believe they're not just like very small roles too. So maybe we will get a lot more into that, and there might be like an actual like huge weather thing that happens like that we haven't seen, because we had like severe stuff, but like honestly that wasn't huge weather stuff. That hail and the severe rain, even like in how crazy and intensely they portrayed it in this show, that's not a huge thing. Like they're not like a monsoon happening or like heavy winds that carry a fire. So I kind of feel like it's trying to kind of level into the workplace stuff and then maybe get to a point where the biggest thing is a huge weather,
like a typhoon or something big. Something big's a coming.
I was just gonna ask if you guys thought that it was like, if it was as you expected or different.
I'm gonna be honest, I knew nothing going into this, so I just knew who the 2 main cast were. That was all I did. That it was about.
So yes, it delivered. It delivered.
It delivered exactly that. So.
I thought it was like Where the Stars Land in the pictures, and then I got to it and I was like, this is where the stars land. So maybe yes. I definitely didn't read up enough onto it to get a full feel of it. So I don't know. Like I would say that it's not meeting my expectations because I don't really have much expectations going into it.
Yeah.
I don't think it didn't surprise me. The vibe of it didn't surprise me at all. It just, what I found was weird was that it tonally seemed to shift a little bit throughout the episode, so that I was like, yeah, okay, we're watching this. And then it would do something different. And you're like, oh, maybe we're not. And then it, you know, like it kind of bounced around a little bit between its genres, that it's, hopefully it finds its place and settles into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I purposely didn't look a lot into it before watching it, aside from like who is in it or something. And I knew it was about weather, and I was like, okay. I was shocked that there was as much weather graphs as we got. Like,
there was much more weather than I was expecting.
There was more weather than I was, because I was expecting heavy workplace, more like just about the people and their relationships and stuff. And
like
hoping
kind of like
that it's going to be more.
Touch Your Heart, where it is a workplace drama, but you got a little bit less. You got more relationships of the characters, a little less what they actually do as a lawyer.
Even like Secretary Kim, I don't even remember what they do in that office, but a lot of times you would see
do anything in that.
You would see the meeting, you would see the meetings, and you would know all the working characters and their relationships with each. So I mean, you still got a lot of workplace, despite like you didn't have to look at all their graphs or whatever they were using.
Well,
So
I remember saying that about office dramas once. Just quick, tell me what the business is, because like
sometimes you
most
just don't
office
know.
dramas,
it's
like,
a business.
Yeah, you're like once in a while there's like a thing, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's such a big scene that you remember that it was a furniture company or
It's
it was
a
whatever, right?
What more do you
But
need?
like, yeah, most of the time I don't even know if the people writing it know what's going on in the office. They just know that they do work, and it involves computers and meetings.
They type things. They have PowerPoints about shareholders. They have a board.
One thing I did want to mention was this show reminds me a little bit of Jury-san, just because.
Yes, I thought that so many times.
So definitely not the weird fantasy elements of Jury-san.
No, very realistic.
Not that.
Yeah.
But the parts of Jury-san that were always heightened and stuff. The thing is, it was always centered around missing people. So of course it was a heightened thing because you only had X amount of hours to find these people and save them, and they couldn't be hurt. So it was naturally heightened, but it was also usually also centered around weather.
Yes.
So it was always you had the stats, you had the weather stuff going. To me, it relates a lot to that. But I always felt like the intensity like matched what was going on, because it was usually like people are missing or something like that. Or it's a fire and children are in the warehouse. Like, things are happening. But when it's just graphs and charts and it's like they're freaking out about
Sky, there could be some street level flooding, Sky.
What I will say about like the thing that it like actually matches very closely with Jury-san is the focus on how they implement the like what happens and who goes out to what in like those things. So it would be like Jury-san, they'd be looking at the maps and looking at the graphs, and then this person will do this person will do this person will do this. And in forecasting love of weather, they did that in a way where we saw, going to different areas who are also tracking things in their areas and showing the graphs and showing how they do that. Then on with like the the announcement of the severe weather and then the PR. So we got to see all of that, and I think that followed Jury-san. It's just that it wasn't someone potentially dying in a flood.
Maybe that's it. We just need to while we watch forecasting, have Jury-san in the back of our minds and think, this is why. It's because people on the mountain could die. So they need to get that weather.
It's a sister show. We didn't realize it till now.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, like Cheers and Frasier or something.
Exactly.
Wow. I wonder if there's weird stuff that would be. That's going to be like my thing now. It's going to make forecasting love and weather like more interesting for me.
maybe Song Kang is some kind of like weather fox fairy, and that's all gonna come out.
We don't know, but we're hoping not, because that would be a very weird
odd turn
for this.
They just like make Song Kang into every single character he's played on a Netflix show. And just like
he did ballet as a child.
This is like their universe, Netflix's Kdrama universe.
The Netflix's cinematic universe.
Now, I do want to see Park Min-young's character like rock her job by the end of the show.
For sure.
And of course, she'll have all these obstacles, and she'll get to trusting all these people probably, even after all of her heartache. But I hope that she just gets to really succeed. Like that's what I would really enjoy seeing.
When I looked up some of the stuff on, I can't remember if it was my drama list or somewhere else, but it said that like her character kind of is supposed to have fallen into the job a little bit. Like it wasn't her first, she wanted to be like the weather girl or whatever, and that never happened for her. But now she's the director, but she actually finds that she becomes passionate about this job and she likes, so I don't know if it's supposed to be that she is already become passionate, or that like Song Kang's passion like
it
rubs
could be.
off
Maybe
on her,
that's like part of what the title really actually means, is her developing her love for her job and weather.
See, it wasn't forecasting love and weather, it's forecasting love for weather.
Like, she's already got Song Kang's character.
There's no what if with that. It's done.
They're there. They're fine. They figured out that they're good together. They've done other things together. They're good.
There's no Jim Pam for like however many seasons.
No,
we don't need that.
Fine. They're good. Speaking of simps, shall we move into
What a segue.
shall we move into 39?
Absolutely.
Which features possibly, I don't know if it's because I'm very tired when I was watching it, because I watched it today and I'm very tired today, but I almost laughed hysterically at one point in this drama that we will get to soon, because it features the biggest simp I've ever seen in a K-drama, and I love it. I love it. So 39 is about 3 39-year-old best friends who are single, child-free, and living their lives.
Mm-hmm. And they've known each other from high school.
They've known each other since they were, many a years. They know everything about each other.
I really like the friendship between the three of them. Like, too. I like the way they will, like, just say absolutely terrible things to each other and then be like, keep drinking, because that's, you know, what you do
the writer
sometimes.
Really did nail that kind of like old friendship, you know? These aren't people who have even been in like friends for a while, but still in their adult years. These are people who went from youth to adults.
And they also nailed
works really well
what women in their 30s sound like when they talk to each other about things.
Alone.
Like by themselves in the privacy of not men.
When they are in public together, like sometimes they'll be kind of obnoxious in certain environments, but other times, like when they're trying to be more proper, the way they're all communicating with their eyes and their expressions, nailed that completely, because you could tell they're like trying not to laugh, but also like they're saying like 15 things to each other just by glances and stuff, and they're communicating so much like with just their expressions.
The acting is perfect between these three women. You believe they have been friends for 20 years.
They've got like great chemistry with each other. They really work well and work even in their lines, just got that great flow.
I bet they had so much fun on set.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So the main character played by good old Song Ye-jin.
Which congratulations, girl.
Congratulations. Is a dermatologist who runs a dermatology clinic with her older sister, and she is adopted and sort of ribs her sister about it, but has the nicest family who is just the best family ever.
And side note, the sister relationship is also like
it's very, very realistic.
So
very
good,
realistic,
so
and relatable. And then the next friend is an acting coach, played by John Mi-do, who was from Hospital Playlist.
I love how different her character is.
Yes, very different. Who has been having an affair with a married man for 10 years. That they rib her on.
It's
very
like
merciless
out of concern.
Because it's a very like, we'll talk more about it probably, but like it's a very kind of emotional, like Jim and Pam. This is the Jim and Pam roller coaster. It's those two.
And then finally the adorable No Luck with Love Jang Joo-hee, played by Kim Ji-hyun, who
love her.
She's so adorable. Who works as a makeup salesperson and desperately wants to be flirted with, but does not really get what flirting is. And drinks too much. So
and lives at home. I think she
lives with her mother.
Lives with the mom.
And then along that backdrop, we get 3 male characters. The simp. Kim Sun-woo, played by Yeon Woo-jin, who I love. I just love his little face.
What have you guys seen him in before? Because I have not seen him in anything else.
So I first watched him in Marriage and Not Dating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
And I only watched the first episode of it, but I didn't like it. Introverted Boss. He was
which I loved him in that as well.
Yeah. He usually was in like, these sort of spot episodes here and there, but he was also in like Judge versus Judge, and I Want to Hear Your Song.
He was really good. I want to hear your song.
I want to hear your song. Okay.
Yeah. Haranguing the Magistrate. Anyone? No, just me.
I haven't seen that one.
Okay.
I just haven't seen him. Like, I've seen him around, but I haven't watched a drama.
So. He's kind of one of those like very famous actors that don't have like as big of catalog to kind of match his acting. I think he's just like very well liked, and so with that kind of is like puts him in the spotlight.
Very good at the kissing scenes, like very good. That was like the biggest problem with that I Want to Hear You song, is that like Sejong was so young in it, and they were supposed to play the same age, but like they're not. They're like 15 years apart, and she was like 20, and they had a romance, and they never really kissed in it because it would make her fans freak out, and also so it's always disappointing if he's not getting a good kiss scene. So it's nice to see him in a grown thing with grown-ups, where he gets to be grown,
and he's so grown that he gets his world absolutely rocked by Chammy Joe. Like, that man was ready to risk it all for her
immediately.
After a single encounter, he was like, okay,
this is it.
To be fair, it's 2 encounters. It's their second encounter.
I mean, technically, like 3 even, because they meet and then meet again later that same day. Like,
but let's be clear, from the very beginning, his first like when he saw her, he was tell. He was like,
he sees her and he's like,
that's the
I have chosen the woman I will be with for the rest of my life. And then he meets her again when she's delightfully drunk, and she's a fun drunk. Like, her character's like a fun drunk, not like a sad drunk. Like,
she's not mean,
like giving out flowers.
Yeah, she's very laughing. Like friendly. Yeah,
he's like, let's go get something to eat, and he's like, I love this woman. And then
I will follow you to the end of the earth.
They meet again by happenstance.
Well, after you listen to classical music, I mean, that's just the way it goes.
Who doesn't get a little randy after some Rachmaninoff? You know what I mean?
I loved that, like, his line was like, thanks so much for those beautiful flowers you gave me last night. Do you want to come by my apartment and see them? And she's like,
she just looks at him. She's like, do you want to
have sex, right?
You want to sleep with me? And he's like, yes,
that is
100%.
No, you just randomly ask strangers over to your apartment to like see flowers.
I just like how upfront she is. She's like, so do you want to go have sex? And he's like, oh, God,
yes.
Wipe the sweat. Yes, madam, please, queen. Yes. And then they do, and then afterwards he's like, marry me, but like not really. It's more just like, I need you to just stay with me. But of course she's like, no, sorry, I'm leaving for the States.
I have to go golf in Palm Springs.
I gotta work on my golf swing, even though I'm a dermatologist. I'm like taking off for a year to go play golf, so this thing can't happen. She's like, oh, and by the way, I gotta go because I gotta go like interview a new dermatologist who's gonna like take over my clinic for a year while I'm on sabbatical.
Who is that dermatologist?
Oh no, who could that be? The
Mr. Watchman.
I mean, they were faded.
I like it.
They were faded.
I always love the faded romance situation.
Well, you also have to throw in there, like, so they originally met, the 3 friends went to go hang out at the orphanage that she was at once upon a time. And then he shows up there. And so, like, they, through their encounters, they also talk about, like, adoption stuff because his younger sister's adopted. And so they have these conversations that are, like, very important to both of them, but they're not, like, necessarily these long, drawn-out, like, deep things, but they're very personal. Like, they show... They are intimate discussions. So, like, it's not really a surface level relationship because, like, from the get-go, they're talking about, like, pretty heavy stuff that you don't really talk to strangers about,
Yeah. And when we're talking about that orphanage, that little kid.
Oh my gosh,
cute.
that little kid.
There's like an adorable little kid.
How adopted is that little kid going to be by the cute dermatology couple by the end of this drama? Like, I mean,
if we
the
could,
show
like,
is I'm
put something
projecting
out
the
into
show
the air.
It's not.
Yeah.
So our next gentleman, less pleasant to discuss.
Outside of his character in this, we all love him.
Love his actor.
We love him.
Yes. Played by Lee Moo Sang, who is wonderful. Okay. If you recall our episode about the Silent Sea, we may have mentioned him a few times because he was excellent in that. Like, absolutely excellent. And also the woman who plays the sister was also in the Silent Sea. She played
true.
Bayuna's sister, the scientist who was on
yeah.
So I love the the synergy. I really love that Netflix really
cinematic universe.
These actors.
Netflix
giving him work. He plays like this entertainment agent dude. I'm like kind of unclear as to what his job is. Entertainment something. He's married and has a very adorable looking like 10-year-old, but is also just stringing this poor woman along, and she knows it ain't right.
Yeah.
He's trying to get away.
And also the big thing is that he's been a friend of Mijo's character since
forever.
It sounds like they've all been friends for a long time, because she did know him before he got married, right? Like it's not, they were friends. They were always together for a long time.
And Agent's character talks about how feels that she is to blame about their situation, because she essentially was the one to get them to meet each other, because she needed her CD back, and he came to the restaurant that they all were drinking at, and he kind of zeroed in on Sean Young's and was like, I like you, but apparently not enough.
Or
we don't get to see a lot of like, there's something happened that
I'm sure more story will be revealed as
potentially she also said no to, but like we'll see later on in the series.
So they've been having an affair for many years, and she is trying to get rid of him. She's like, please leave me alone. I love you, but you're never gonna leave your wife for me, and I just need to accept this, and I need you to leave me alone. But he cannot do that.
Like, what I liked about his character is that he is a bad person and he's doing bad things, but he's not like an evil character. He lives in a gray area.
He's where like you
can tell he actually does understand the issue with it, and he's not like purposely targeting her, purposely doing this as like a vicious like weird power role play. It's more of like he just can't admit to himself how much he is in love with her, and he doesn't want to let that go. And I think it's not nice because it's like sad to watch, but like it's good to see that it's not like some sort of really vicious thing. Like it's not
layered. There's layers there.
Like you don't get the feeling that he's going to literally like ruin her in like a financial sense or try to like do something like that, even though he is ruining her in an emotional state. There is emotional abusive, but it's not like as targeted as some of these types of characters are usually.
It's not like
done.
he's not like gaslighting her or abusing her in any way. It's just.
But I mean, there is like emotional manipulation there, but it's to a realistic point that he is also like kind of cognizant of it. He kind of knows what he's doing, and he's not doing it because he hates her. He's doing it because he can't live without her type thing.
That's true. And I think like it's like in that kind of like area where it's not like super cognizant, like that he is doing it in a way psychopath dig. It's just kind of like he also isn't owning up to his own feelings, and so a lot of the stuff that he is doing, he's not doing. He like understands it after the fact, but not during the fact. So
and you can tell that he also feels guilty about it too.
Yeah.
And it does, they don't talk about it a lot in these first two episodes, but there does seem to be something that actually was a defining moment, that like their relationship could have gone, but then something happened and it didn't happen. Yeah. And it's always their one big regret, but life came in and made a big thing happen so that they grow apart.
Like I'm sure we will find out as the show.
Like it sounds like he went away to school or something overseas, right? And she could have gone with him, but she didn't.
At some juncture, someone wound up pregnant, and then it became.
We don't know.
Probably he did the right thing by the kid, right? And then she comes back into his life, and it's like, oh well, crap.
He does not love his wife, and his wife knows that he does.
Yeah,
they look miserable.
He does love his kid.
Yeah. And I thought they did deal with that plot line really well. the girl feeling bad about it, but also defensive about it. Like, you know, she's like at one point having a conversation and says like, it's not really an affair because like I knew him first. I knew him. I loved him before the wife. So it's not really an affair. And you're like, but she's
a little self-justification.
Like, and like she has her turning moment when she like basically attacks some dude who's like cheating on his wife, like in a restaurant or something. And she like goes off on him. And then she's like, because, you know, when other people do it, it's bad. But when I do it, it's love. And I know how bad that is. Like, I get it finally, you know.
It's a very nuanced situation, and I appreciate that.
And so even when the friends like try to talk to her about it and stuff, it's out of concern about that situation and about her ongoing well-being in the future, because it's been like such a big part of her life throughout her 30s. And so they're kind of like, you know, trying to be blunt about it because they're hoping it'll help her to get rid of him.
Well, and the fact that like they can't quite kick him out of their lives either because he's so close with her, so close with the lead. I actually wondered at the very beginning, I wondered if maybe he was like a third sibling, like if he was also her older brother.
Yeah, that's
and
what
that
I thought
was
too.
part
And
of
I was
why
like, wait
they
a second.
couldn't detangle him from their lives.
He's not, but I do feel like he's probably an
closeness to
older brother relationship with Mijo's character.
Yeah,
like, I feel like they're actually
feels like
closer than just like a casual college friend.
Especially since he's the one, like, as far as where did new dermatology guy come from? Oh, he recommended him. Okay, so like she trusts him to recommend people and stuff. So I mean, there's a relationship there.
But we also have a third gentleman. I'm gonna call them probably our adorable comedic couple, because that's sort of how they're being presented. With a hot young chef, played by Lee Tae-hwan, who just has the most angelic little sweet little cheeks. I just want to pinch his
surprise.
After 2 episodes, the big question is, what is the age gap? Because if it's more than 10 years, it's gonna be a like
okay.
The actors have like a 15-year like age gap. Like she's 40 and he's 25 or something. So
she's born in 82 and he's born in 95. So it's like 13 years. So
listen,
I guess that's the same age gap in Young Lady and Gentleman. It's nothing. It's nothing.
But you wonder what they're gonna place his character as. Because you know, he could easily be, as far as his character could easily be 32. Easy.
We don't know. So he plays a chef who's opening a new restaurant where in her neighborhood where she wanders around drunk often. So she just has these strange drunk encounters with
a very special spot for them. It used to be another restaurant that they went to all the time for like Bry Pollock or something. And they find out that the owner sold it and it's being taken away. So it was like an actual significant for the 3 of them. And maybe even the same like place that they meet the Jin Suk's character. Who knows?
Who knows?
Oh yeah, true.
And so she wanders up and sees him putting up. Well, first she wanders in while he's doing construction, and then just runs away because she's like, "Who's this dude?"
And she was drunk.
She's drunk a lot. She has a problem.
She's like the clueless drunk too. So she's just like.
She's a fun, wacky drunk who doesn't remember anything after she sobers up. So the next time she encounters him, he's putting up like the hours of operation. And it was from like 11 in the morning till 8 at night. And then he's like, "Oh, you should stop by." And she is drunk again. And she's like, "Oh, I worked too late." Like, oh well, like
the old guy was open till like 11 and that worked for me.
So then the next time she walks by, she sees that the hours of operation have now changed until 10 p.m. So she's like, "Oh, I should check this place out," not remembering this encounter that she has had. And then he comes out and he's like, "Oh, it's you again. Look, I'm open later." And she's like, "Oh, okay, that's great." And he's like, you should stop by." And then she immediately goes, "Is this flirting?" So
butterfly meme.
Yeah,
like man is nice to me. Is this
a flirt?
I think it is, but you know.
I also think it is.
I thought it was too.
Yeah.
It seemed he seemed real happy to see her. So
yeah, like he finds her drunken antics charming.
Charming.
So then, she's like, yeah, I'll bring my friends to try your food this weekend. And they do, and they mock her ceaselessly the entire time there.
They check him out.
Oh yeah.
And they are not subtle. They are obvious. They're just like, check out that man in the kitchen. And yeah. Like, girl, you should pull your shirt down a little far, show a little cleave, like, hey, we can make this happen for you. Like, virgin no more. And she's like, shut up.
But a lot of this is also just with the eyes too, because they're trying to be quiet. So there's a lot of expressions change. They're like, oh no, he looks pretty good.
Like,
They have that like perfect friendship language.
Friendship,
like,
just
like umpire who just knows, just like a couple of hand movements and an eye glare, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, got it.
Because like we all have a friend who we have that relationship.
Absolutely,
with.
you have to. You have to be able to like not say words and still talk about someone who's like 2 feet away from you. Like,
you'll see those memes where it's like the face you make when like you and your friend remember an inside joke. It's like that's
yeah.
An So-hee plays the sister of Sun, the adopted sister who's come back, and I think she's gonna play a heavier role because there's something that had happened.
Yeah, their mother died.
Yeah,
and she says, I'm no longer really
part of the family.
You're part of your family because mom died. And he's like, girl,
that's not really how that works.
So
it
leads me to believe that like she's going to be there's maybe a bigger story. Maybe the father did something or something like that. So
we don't know.
Just wanted to throw her out there because she is like gonna probably be here for a good amount.
She hasn't played a huge role in the first 2 episodes, but like I'm sure she will.
Yeah.
Return. As on Asian Wiki, she is in the main cast list,
and that usually is the truth.
That tells you enough.
The sister relationship is a really big aspect of that dude's character. Like that's why he came to back to Korea and stuff. So like you can tell it's going to be a large part of what's going on.
And they talk about adoption, like they're dealing with the adoption relationships a lot. Like it's a main focus. So it's nice to see. Like, because I'm so used to like K-dramas being like, oh my god, he already has a child, or like all this adoption is never real, and like all that nonsense that you get, and they're just not doing that at all, and it's so nice. It's so refreshing.
And oh my god, her adoptive family loves her so
I know.
much.
The dad is like, please just take me with you. I'll go to the States with you and golf all the time.
Golf with you.
Fun.
And she's like, no, that would be like taking you to the club. He's like, I'll go to the club with you. And she said, we are all too old to go grind at the club. Okay, we're not going to the club. But I just love them. And like the guy's like, are you going home to get scolded? And she's like, I wish. He's going home to get scolded. I'm going home to get loved.
I love that like kind of thing, because you think you're like, oh, maybe he's strict, or maybe he's like super rich and he's strict, and that's the thing. And then she gets home and you're like, oh, it's because you could never say no to that man. That is not a man you say no to, because you will feel like you like picked a puppy. Okay, I get it.
Okay. Oh, he's the perfect dad. Oh,
okay.
Like you're having a serious conversation. All of a sudden, he's like, "We need to get the wine because like I'm feeling sad now." He's like,
"Oh, she's hungry. We need food, sweetie." And then I mean, we do find out in that scene as well that part of the reason why she wants to leave and take a sabbatical is that she's been having panic attacks, and there's something wrong with her psyche. She's struggling, and I love that aspect of it as well, that her parents go, yeah, you're struggling, take some time off. That's absolutely what you should do. Please take care of your mental health. And you're like,
love to see it.
Again, what? Like,
this is not what we're used to in K-dramas. This is fantastic.
Well, and this is like, oh, we're in 2022 K-drama land. Like, this feels nice.
A woke K-drama.
One thing that I did notice, the writer for this wrote the movie script for Kim Ji-young, born in 1982.
Okay.
She also wrote Runoff, which is one of my favorite like sports movies of all time,
she
about
also
the
wrote
Korean
My
women.
Annoying Brother.
She also wrote the very cute rom-com that used to be on Drama Fever, but isn't anymore. And I wish it was, Like for Likes.
I love that movie.
And that's
love
a
that movie.
fate everybody attached
Yeah.
to each other movie as well. So
When I
Yeah,
saw
I'm looking
this,
at these movies. She has
this
written
writer, I was
a
like,
lot of great movies.
okay, could be good. I like that.
So right out the gate when the first episode starts,
Yes.
you're at a funeral.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she says, one of us dies. You see all the guys. All the guys are at the funeral. You see all of them. So you know it's not one of them that dies. It's one of the girls is going to die. And you're like, okay, you just keep waiting.
So then kind of know who it is.
Yeah, I was pretty sure.
Because there's one guy who's crying more and
than everyone.
you already saw
they're-
Mujo in the seats. So you knew it wasn't
and they
her.
give it away pretty quick. They're not holding. By the end of episode 2, y'all know who's going down.
Oh yeah, they tell ya.
Yeah. They all just go get, a friendly full body checkup together as girls do. Just
what a good thing to do when you're about to hit 40. Like
Right.
that's very smart.
I like when shows do this where they kind of like talk about a social thing and put it into the script and actually do it in a flowy way, which I think this did really well, because obviously the intention to put that in was to be like, hey, at this age, you should be doing this for your health, kind of as like a PSA. But the way that it's integrated, I thought was really nice and flowed with the
we've already seen them they do everything together. They go hiking together. They go eat. They go for massages. They go hiking.
They go
hiking
to the hiking
like,
path.
and
Like
go
look
eat.
at
Three friends go hiking together.
They consider hiking together.
Yeah. They do
They buy
normal
cute
people
hiking
hiking, which
outfits.
is like walk up and go, drinks.
I'm not feeling it today.
It says the bees are bad, and I just
don't want to get
no.
near
We
those
should-
bees.
we should go drinking instead.
By the way, it is actually stated earlier, because I saw some tweets about this, so I'm going to address it right now, that it was her friend who was a fellow doctor who was doing these checkups for them for a reduced price.
Yes.
This is important to note because the doctor friend calls her a fellow doctor, because dermatologists are medical doctors, and says, I need to talk to you about your friend. And she finds out that her friend has stage 4 cancer and is terminal.
Which,
And
yes, still shouldn't have done that because he already knew.
not.
But, like, I don't think people caught on how close this person was. Like, he literally doesn't even address her formally. Like, you hear in the script, he doesn't address her formally when she starts breaking down and he starts to comfort her.
Yeah, like, it's still not great, but it's more almost like
just
he's
like some
consulting
random
her
doctor.
as a friend and fellow
as the doctor, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the patient's other doctor, and I'm gonna talk to her about it.
So I think people did miss that because they were like, oh, HIPAA violations. I'm like, first off, I'm not even sure if Korea has HIPAA violations.
I don't
It's a
know
completely
about that.
different system. But 2, it was stated previously that these were coworkers and friends. Like,
Mijo actually could be her guardian, and if it's her guardian, they're allowed to give anything to that guardian too.
And that's entirely possible because you get the sense that
and you don't have to be related to be
Chen
guardians
Young
of
does
people.
not have a lot of people in her
And
life.
they're they're roommates. So if you're roommates and you don't have family, like, why wouldn't you make your best friend roommate
Especially
your
the
guardian,
doctor.
right? Like,
Yeah,
like
easy.
you trust her to make good choices for you.
Yeah.
So I guess this is going to be basically the story of them in their 39th year dealing with their friend's terminal illness and finding love. I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. So
I
have to say, these episodes were long. They were long.
See, I didn't feel that at all. They did not feel long to me at all. I think this is what we say with like any of these new dramas that have like really long episodes. If you're really into it, you don't notice as much.
Yeah.
But
Well, for context,
if you're
for
not
why-
that into it, sometimes you're like,
for why I found them really long. So today, the day that we're recording is the day I watched them because it's the first time I had a chance, but I accidentally woke up at 5 a.m. and then I had to babysit my little neighbor for the day because she couldn't go to daycare and her mom had to work a few hours, like between when her mom was done work and bedtime, to watch this show. So I had like 4 hours and then I had to go down and help her put her to bed. I thought they were an hour long. And so I had like an hour so that like, okay, I can watch 2 hours and then take like an hour nap. They were an hour and 20 minutes long. that took 40 minutes out of my proposed time for this. So.
And we haven't mentioned, but this drama is only going to be 12 episodes. Yes. So I think that's all part of the reason because it is a mellow. So it's getting into like kind of more emotional, deeper things. Yeah. So I think that kind of, it warrants the length. I felt the length, but I didn't feel it in like a, oh my gosh, trudging through. I was just like, it wasn't. I wasn't expecting 30, 40 more minutes on this episode. Yeah,
I did wonder, like, I think in the second episode, I did sort of pause it to see how much time was left because I was like, okay, like, how can I, okay.
I've done a lot of stuff.
But it wasn't like with like forecasting love and weather. That first episode ended at 52 minutes and there was still 20 minutes left. And you were like, but it's over. Like, this is the K-drama ending scene where they stare at each other and this is obviously the natural end to this episode. What are they doing for the next 20 minutes? So it wasn't like that. Like, it wasn't like it felt like they were stringing things along. They were just long episodes. They had a lot to say.
For me, the way I watched 39, usually I try to wait to watch both together, but I caved and just last night I watched the first one. And so since they were longer, it really felt like, watching one kind of felt like watching two. So it was kind of good to break it up, really. Yeah. Like, it definitely makes you realize, like, if you're watching two together of a longer show like that, you just need to know that it's going to be
it's going to be a chunk of
an investment. Kind of like hospital playlist, to where, like, you can binge it, just know that it's going to be a long journey.
Yeah. I feel like with these longer episodes, I almost do want to watch it as it's going more than binge because it feels more daunting at the end when you see the long episodes and you're like, oh, like, so if you're sitting on the fence, sometimes that'll be enough to like kind of knock you off it. I feel like I can handle, a couple weeks. Also with the heavier for 39, with the sort of heavier thing that they're dealing with, I don't know that I would want to. I don't want to feel that sad for that long.
I can't say anything. I watched Move to Heaven literally.
That's
true. And this will not compare to Move to Heaven. I know.
No, not in any stretch. Like, I also binged Move to Heaven and just.
That's
my husband. I was going through it.
That's your drunk for a week off of how much you're like emotionally.
No, my husband thought I was having a mental breakdown. He was like,
I'm positive my neighbors thought that. I'm positive.
Do you need to, like, is something going on? Like, do you need to tell me something? And I'm like, this show is so moving.
I will say, back to the show.
Yes.
What I like about the length is that even though it's obvious Sonia Jin's character is the main character,
yes,
they are giving a lot of time to each of the characters. I think, like, having that length, I'm glad that we're like kind of getting a showcase of all three characters. It's not just like we only see them when they're together. We get like storylines of them apart from each other and have that. And I really do appreciate that. So I was like looking around to see if I could find any like articles about both of these shows. I couldn't really find much about forecasting love and weather, but I did find an article that Soompi did just a couple of days ago, where they were talking, or they translated an article where, someone was doing an interview with the writer Yu Young Ah, and I wanted to read a little section of it because I think it will help kind of portray some of the reasons why she does what she does, and we kind of already started to talk about it. I'll also link the thing in our blog post so you can actually read the full article. And she says, so while 39 deals with potentially heavy topics like terminal illness and adoption, the drama approaches these subjects in a lighthearted manner, more and many sincere. Yu Young Ah commented, I once read this in a book, that the happiness from buying a new car or house expires a lot faster than expected. It also said that unhappiness from bad relations runs deep and lasts a long time. Perhaps what can give us the most energy when we're enduring tough times is not money or prestige, but warm and honest conversation with those around us. Whether I'm terminally ill or adopted, and whether I do or do not have a presence, I think a sincere relationship is most important.
I like it.
Wow.
Yeah, in the article, she also talks about like the reasons why she picked this kind of like drama, and it was that she felt that everybody kept on talking about like these ages, and then she found that like everybody was like, once you hit 40, it's just like perfect, and like that's like kind of the best, but nobody was talking about how literally the year 39 to 40, that year was one of the like most hard and most jam-packed year of my life, and I wanted to focus on that. And I think she mentions that right now or when she was writing it, she was turning from 49 to 50, so she had this like kind of perspective of looking back. So that's why she specifically wanted this year, because it was like there's something different in between 39 and 40 than any other year she had experienced in life, and wanted to focus the drama on that. So
I like it.
That's cool. And and I think I do see that, like that sense of warm conversation, like that's definitely something in this drama.
Yeah, the drama has a real sense of like connection in it, and I really like it. I'm definitely going to keep up with it.
For sure.
I am too.
I wanted to mention one scene that I really, really liked just because it was hilarious. It was the sister showing up at the police station
with the flapper dress.
Oh my gosh.
With the like, I'd have to say it's probably like a salsa, probably not salsa dress, but like it's a.
And it has that,
sports dance.
It's very splashy and bright pink,
neon
and like
twirl in it, and the like
fringe,
dress
and fringe is just gonna go.
And no one knew that the sister even was into dancing at all. Like, it was really
all three of them. They're like,
so,
or even four of them, because the Jin Suk was there at one point.
Yeah,
he's like, what's going on over there? Like,
they all pretty much just could not compute the sister being in that outfit, and they were like,
I love that. It's just like, it sort of gives the impression that it's like, yeah, they're really close with this sister, but she has a whole other life they know nothing
they're
about.
Close, but like obviously they're not the same. Like they're not going to be friends, because you're close enough
you
that like
she's with your older sister. That's just weird.
Well, like just like different personalities, and
but they're I like
but
that
still look close.
They're clearly so close. Like one of the early scenes with the friends and the sister, and the friends are like, she's kind of a brat, you should unadopt her, and she's like, it's been decades, it's probably too late now. Like,
trust me, I've tried.
I'll definitely watch it too. I just wanted to watch it more too. I just wanted to mention I really liked the sister's character. It's funny.
I do. I like her a lot.
I really like it. I figured I was going to like it, and it just was like, oh yeah, this is it, this is what I want a good friendship one. And I like all the characters, and even like the characters who are flawed, you understand. And I think that's a great, like, obviously there's some heightened stuff. I like when it kind of tries to stay at least a little bit grounded in reality, and I think they're doing that. I will say that if you are one who does not like faded people, this is not going to be your drama, because everybody it's just like everybody mapped around Sunu, just like
they're all, I mean,
was there for everything. He's
dermatologist like guy, like
he's friends with the
chef,
the chef, and then Jin Suk, and
connected.
It's a small world.
I mean, like to the point where there's like one part where you see Juhi at her job, and she checks out someone because she's getting some sort of skincare, and like her and her coworker are like, oh, it must be nice to have your boyfriend pay for it. And then you see that girl later say Opa to the guy who owns the restaurant.
Like it's everything's connected.
Everything is connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep watching it too.
I did see somebody say that they lost a close friend recently, so they don't think they're going to keep watching it. And that's very understandable. Like, I get that. I've lost a couple of friends this year too, but like we didn't have that close relationship, and I wasn't there. They went quickly and stuff, so it's not quite the same thing. I'm not feeling that same, but I could see if it gets into it a little bit more that it might start to feel too much like what we went through with my mom. So like maybe I'll have to back off at that point. You just never know with that kind of a plot line.
It's always interesting to see like how dramas do handle things. And of course, there will always be things that like people aren't in the mood for, or it's not the appropriate time for them.
Yeah.
So I'm totally not belittling that. But like there's sometimes, for instance, with me and Hospital Playlist, when it was first coming out, going through a lot of stuff about like the pandemic and whatever in reality. And I was like, I don't know if I can handle Hospital Playlist. The way it handled things tonally was totally different than what I was expecting. So I was totally fine.
Yeah.
And it was very consistent with its tone. But when you're a show like this, you really don't quite know yet. You don't know how they are going to handle the grief and things as it unfolds. So there's no way to know if it will be, very, very difficult. They might handle it in a way that is very approachable. You never know like how it's really going to go.
Exactly.
But I like all the characters, like you said, I like everybody. Like I even like the cheater. Like I like him. He's a nice guy. Like I mean, other than the fact that he's cheating on his wife.
He's a nice guy doing bad things that he knows are bad.
Like he's friendly, and like the way he jokes around with the friends, and he's part of that friend group and stuff. And you're just like, I want to like you.
He's like one of those people where it's just like, he's a study on how your brain and emotions can override a lot of your like critical thinking skills, and like you're not intending to do bad things, but like you do, but like you're also trying to like heal yourself, because it's like obviously like he has some trauma because of the situation too, whether it's good or not that he keeps up with the thing. It's just like it's something that's very real. You're not like looking at it's like a heightened character where you're like, this person like has to like be a person who did really bad things, serial killer, like abuser, that sort of thing, and he's not. And I like that they kind of focus that, because it is clear that he's not super malicious about what he's doing, and he obviously still has a good relationship with Mijo's character. So there's something about it that we just don't see yet in these 2 episodes, and especially going from forecasting Love and Weather character to
very
him,
different vibe.
It was a very different, and I enjoyed
very
that.
different kind of cheating
also,
going on,
because they're older. It was like it's an older relationship too, you know.
He kind of has that vibe too of like the guy who like he wants both things, so there's that, but also he doesn't want to hurt either of them. So he thinks that like if he just keeps going the way he's going, he won't really hurt either of them, but actually he's hurting both of them a lot. But he's trying to get away without tears and it's like, nah, you can't have your cake and eat it too, my friend. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting also to see the character that as she gets told the news, like, and how she's going to handle all of that, because her character's already a very fascinating character, like her personality and stuff, the way she handles things. And she's also such a great actress that it'll be really interesting to see how she handles everything.
And the relationship with the other two with her. And it's going to be hard, but it's going to be a very interesting like thing to see and watch.
And I mean, definitely because it deals, like, I didn't know that grief was going to be, like, I didn't know that was going to be an aspect of it. I was just thinking,
neither.
I didn't think this grief. I thought like, you know, mother dying maybe, or you know,
maybe the older sister. Like I thought that could have,
marriage gone wrong, or you know, that sort of thing.
So I definitely wasn't expecting that. I do know that because I am a moody watcher, I'll have to be in the right headspace to pick it up when I will. I'll probably pick it up weekly, but like if I'm in a sad headspace for like a day, I might have to like wait a little, just to be able to approach it right. Just because I am a moody watcher. Sometimes
we talked about
it feels like it's gonna be my Friday afternoon lunchtime watch is what it's gonna be for me. Like, I make myself my lunch. I like have my little sandwich.
It's just that it's an airing show.
I lie in bed.
We discussed this a couple weeks ago, but it was like just airing. It's hard to keep up with it because like I'm not a moody watcher in that if I'm sad I have to do the watch certain things. So like my mood will never dictate what kind of show. I can be incredibly sad and watch an incredibly sad show. My mood dictates whether I push play on anything. That's like basically it. It's just whether I'll push play. It doesn't matter what that thing is. It's just whether I'm going to watch that or I'm going to, watch something that I've already watched that I could have in the background and listen, and it's in English, so I don't have to read, you know?
Well, and I mean, I think that's one of those things too. Like for me, like I'll throw on the Thai dramas or the C dramas or something while I'm in the kitchen and I'm making dinner. Because if I miss a bit of conversation, it probably doesn't matter that much. Like you kind of know the trajectory, you know, but when you're talking about something like 39, where the writer has said, you know, conversation is an important part of what they're trying to do. I don't want to miss conversation, right? Like that it's going to need to be a sit down and, you know, and watch it kind of show, not a background type thing.
And it is funny because we recently did all talk about like we prefer binging.
We literally said we were going to do this
like 2 weeks ago. We're like
no, say no to airing. I even like titled that episode that way. Just say no to airing, and look at us. I
will say I feel like with 39, I feel like if I personally didn't keep up with it, that I would eventually be, not that they're spoiled really, because like, you know, you know who's going to pass, of course, and stuff. But I feel like if you don't keep up with what occurs relationally, I don't know. I would almost, my vibe might be affected, I suppose, is what I'd be concerned about. Which I don't like feeling like that. I should probably just mute it and like if I wanted to binge it. But yeah, we just said like we all prefer binging, and we're kind of.
But sometimes
our next our next watching episode will be like certified we're a bunch of liars. But you know,
sometimes we have to go back on our words unintentionally.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not lying.
Yeah,
it's being given new information.
We just grew and changed. Okay,
changed as people since last
forecasting.
2 weeks ago.
I might like forecasting love and weather. I might not.
That.
Yeah, like that feels bingeable, and I feel
also
like
probably wouldn't care if I missed a couple weeks on that.
Yeah, like I could see that being one that I maybe leave for a couple of weeks and then like, oh yeah, and you know, and sort of binge in spurts as you go kind of thing. But I feel like 39 will definitely be one I try to stick with.
Like I feel like I want to binge 39, but I don't feel like I'm going to at this point hold off on it to binge it. So we'll see. Who knows?
I guess if I felt like I could exist in a vacuum for the time that it was airing and like, you know, the vibe not be affected by anything, and then I could binge it, I would be totally fine with that probably. I guess I'm just concerned about.
Yeah, I always say that like I don't care about spoilers. It's not so much that I care about being spoiled in it, but once I know what happens, I don't feel like I need to finish it, you know, because I know what happens. So I don't.
If you spoil like most of my watching, I'll be mad. If you watch crime and thriller, spoiling that is actually like a thing that affects the way it's written. You know,
but like if you're watching a rom-com and they're like, oh, they end up together at the end. Like,
this week they're not together. It's like, yeah, of course, because that's how it's going to be.
Oh,
and
are they gonna,
not to say there's anything bad about that, but like
didn't see that coming. Like
a lot of things are supposed to be surprises and are intentionally surprises and not just like beats you have to hit. Both ways are fine writing and like perfectly acceptable, but you know.
You know it's a rom-com, you know they're gonna wind up together. If I get spoiled on how they wind up together, how they fix the problem, then I don't always need to watch how it happened. You know what I mean?
Some things on like rom-coms, if you don't know how it happened, even if it's not like a huge spoiler, it just would have been really sweet for you to see it the first time. You know, like you see that date for the first time, so you're there with the emotions like being happening. And you're like, oh, I'm not just like going in and be like, I know this is happening.
I know what's coming. Which is like the C drama curse, because if you accidentally watch those opening credits one time,
don't do it.
Every single scene.
Because then what you do is you're waiting on like, when's that scene coming? Is now going to be that scene?
Yeah.
You see them finally wearing that outfit, and you're like, oh, okay.
I think we're gonna get a smooch.
So if any of us actually can hold off and binge 39, it'll be interesting to see.
It will be interesting.
Check in on our next what we're watching, which will be in a couple of weeks at least.
In a couple of weeks at least. And
Maybe
you
not
will
long.
find out if we held off or not.
Next episode, we're going to be talking about another Netflix thing.
Yes,
That's
next week we will have another Netflix expose.
We're like
for
really
you.
diving into this February love month.
Yeah, we truly are.
We really went hardcore.
We are diving into the underbelly of love essentially next week. So tune in for that. It's going to be great. Thank you for listening to this episode. That was all about 2 new Netflix shows, 39 and Forecasting Love and Weather. We hope you enjoyed listening to us. You can listen to us wherever podcasts can be found, but if you want links to everything that we're talking about and time codes, you're going to have to go to certifiednunas.com, our home on the web. We are also on all social medias, but mostly Instagram and Twitter, and it's always at Certified Nunas, one word. You can reach us. We're easy to find. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Certified Nunas to become a member of the official Certified Found family. They are our group of little supporters on the web. We love them. We think they're the best. We put special little things up there. We have a movie night. It's super fun. No pressure, but if you can and want to, please do. We love having the support that keeps the lights on. You know the jig. You've listened to a podcast before. Anyway, and if you want to discuss things more in detail, we have a Discord where we have all sorts of fun discussions with all sorts of fun people and have a lot of good times on there as well. The link for that can be found on our website. Anyway, we hope that you have a fantastic week. Maybe check out some new Netflix K-dramas. Wash your hands, wear a mask, you know the jig, and keep enjoying Asian entertainment. Bye.
Bye.